Neville Goddard, Power of Awareness, Chapter 8, Renunciation. There is no coal of character so dead that it will not glow and flame, but slightly turned, if but slightly turned. There is no coal of character so dead that it will not glow and flame, if but slightly turned. What an analogy. Wow. Resist not evil. Whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other also. There is great difference between resisting evil and renouncing it. When you resist evil, you give it your attention. You continue to make it real. When you renounce evil, you take your attention from it and give your attention to what you want. Now is the time to control your imagination and give beauty for ashes, joy for mourning, praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he might be glorified. End quote. Now is the time to control your imagination. There it is. You give beauty for ashes when you concentrate your attention on things as you would like them to be rather than the things as they are. Now, if you can remember that, you give beauty for ashes when you concentrate your attention on things as you would like them to be rather than things as they are, rather than on things as they are. This is at the precipice of revision. We're climbing right into revision right here. If you're going to give beauty for ashes in real time, that means what you're experiencing. Like, let's say this in the previous chapter, Neville's wife was getting admonished for some of her work or anything like that. Then the giving beauty for ashes can be done in actual real time. It's where you're doing and you're practicing revision. So it's going to be a subject for another chapter coming up, but we're right at that point right here. You give beauty for ashes when you concentrate your attention on things as you would like them to be rather than on things as they are. You give joy for mourning when you maintain a joyous attitude regardless of unfavorable circumstances. You give praise for the spirit of heaviness when you maintain a confident attitude instead of succumbing to despondency. In this quotation, the Bible uses the word tree as a synonym for man. You become a tree of righteousness when the above mental states are a permanent part of your consciousness. You are a planting of the Lord when all your thoughts are true thoughts. He is I am, as described in chapter 1. I am is glorified when your highest concept of yourself is manifested. I am is glorified when your highest concept of yourself is manifested. What are we trying to do constantly? I am all that is, God right here. Self-concept, this one, that one, the other one, your sister, your brother, your mother, all of them, the ones you were before, the ones you want to be, ones you might have been in another life. These are all self-concepts, all available, they all exist. I am is glorified when your highest concept of yourself is manifested. When you have the desire here to be here, you bring together your conscious and your subconscious, you wed this idea by impressing, you make the impression into your subconscious. That union gives birth to a son, which is your new experience. This is the objectification of what you had as a desire. You made the impression to your subconscious, which was a union of the masculine and feminine, which gives birth to the son of your new experience. I am, right there, is glorified when your highest concept of yourself is manifested. That's why, since we're made in his image, we're constantly trying to improve and into our highest concept. We're always on the ascent. We're always trying to improve into our highest concept. When you have discovered your own controlled imagination to be your savior, your attitude will be completely altered without any diminution, without any diminution. That's one word. It's been a long time since I came up to a word I didn't know how to pronounce. Diminution. Diminution. That's a new one. Never heard that. Wow, that's really cool. When you have discovered your own controlled imagination to be your savior, your attitude will be completely altered without any diminution of religious feeling, and you will say of your controlled imagination, quote, "Behold this vine, I found it a wild tree, whose wanton strength had swollen into irregular twigs. But I pruned the plant, and it grew temperate in its vain expense of useless leaves, and nodded as you see it into these clean, full clusters to repay the hand that wisely wounded it." We are getting into revision. It's coming. It's getting really close. Prune the vine, right? The pruning shears of revision. It's coming close. "Behold this vine, I found it a wild tree whose wanton strength had swollen into irregular twigs. But I pruned the plant, and it grew temperate in its vain expense of useless leaves, and nodded as you see into these clean, full clusters to repay the hand that wisely wounded it." Beauty for ashes. By vine is meant your imagination, which is in its uncontrolled state, expends its energy in useless or destructive thoughts and feelings. But you, just as the vine is pruned by cutting away its useless branches and roots, prune your imagination by withdrawing your attention from all unlovely and destructive ideas and concentrating on the ideal you wish to attain. The happier, more noble life you will experience will be the result of wisely pruning your own imagination. Yes, be pruned of all unlovely thoughts and feelings, that you may say, quote, "Think truly, and thy thoughts shall be the world's famine feed." Excuse me. "Think truly, and thy thoughts shall the world's famine feed. Speak truly, and each word of thine shall be a fruitful seed. Live truly, and thy life shall be a great and noble creed." Oh, wow. "Think truly, and thy thoughts shall the world's famine feed." Remember, imagine lovingly. "Speak truly, and each word of thine shall be a fruitful seed. Live truly, and thy life shall be a great and noble creed." That just is such a huge reminder of what Seth, in one of the ESP classes, one of the students was asking Seth, what makes a difference if the few of us in this class, it was Jane Roberts' ESP class. And Seth was speaking to the class and the students, and one actually asked this question of Seth, that what is the big difference that this small amount of people is going to make in this world of all this stuff happening, of all this unruly events. The Vietnam War was happening and things like this. And Seth said, each one person doesn't have to preach to anybody anything out of that class. They just have to go out and live the example. So what the students were learning, they could apply to themselves in their one life. That example was going to be louder than anything they could say in any newspaper, on any billboard. It's the loudest when you live the example. When you're learning how to imagine lovingly for others or for yourself, and you change your self-concept, you're living the example. You're living the example in your life. You don't really have to say anything to anybody about what you're learning with the Neville material. It's not your responsibility. Your only responsibility is to him to be you. That's all. I think that's our only responsibility, literally. I'm coming at you with 3 decades and a third and telling you, if I had to simmer it all down and sum it all up, our only responsibility, and I spoke about this in a previous video just recently, a couple videos back, you hear me talking about responsibility and how important it is. But I think our only responsibility, literally, when I put all this together, for him, our responsibility is to ourselves, because that allows us to be what we were sent to be. We were sent to be an image of him. He made us in his image forgot who he was in us so that we'd wake up and remember that we are him. So our only responsibility is to be ourself. Put our self-concepts together, constantly ascending into a new one. We're not married, we're single, we're not in love. We change our self-concept to being in love, being married. We change our self-concepts to having children, change our self-concept to having a house, change our self-concept to getting a bigger house, change our self-concept to raising our kids, change our self-concept to going on vacations, going on cruises, traveling the world, etc., 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 on down the line. We're constantly ascending for ourselves, and ourselves' job is on this level of being a natural element of all that is, natural element of him, the I am, is just to be our own I am. That's our only responsibility. And that's what Seth said as well. Your only responsibility is to yourself. Of course, the golden rule fits in here. There's all kinds of little pieces that you slide together, and they all work wonderfully, just like this last poem says. Think truly, and thy thoughts the world's famines feed. Again, imagine lovingly for a homeless person. Imagine that you hear them telling you about the wonderful new opportunity they just experienced right after you drove by. You hear them saying that to you as you drive by, and you see them smile. You see them, you hear their voice, you hug them because you're standing there in your imagination with them, congratulating them on this new opportunity they just came into their life all of a sudden. Think truly, and thy thoughts shall the world's famine feed. Speak truly, and each word of thine shall be a fruitful seed. Whenever you're speaking, having changed your self-concept into a more positive one, it doesn't matter what you're speaking. You are an example of change. You're an example of improving, of ascending. Live truly, and thy life shall be a great and noble creed. There it is. Live by example. You really have no responsibility to tell anybody about Neville or Seth or anything. You only have You only have one responsibility, and that's to be you. Be yourself. Wow, what a wonderful chapter. Chapter 8. Power of awareness, renunciation. Man, let me repeat the opening quote. Love this analogy, this coal. There's no coal of character so dead that it will not glow and flame if but slightly turned. Resist not evil. Whoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn on him the other also. That first line, there is no coal of character so dead that it will not glow and flame if but slightly turned. If we are all of him, I want to go back to the movie Cowboys and Aliens. The preacher said, go get our people back. And he says, God doesn't care who you were. He only cares who you are. Right? That fits that first line right there. There's no coal of character so dead that it will not glow and flame if but slightly turned. There's no coal of character that's dead, so dead that it won't glow if slightly turned. That slight turning is going to be your responsibility to you. That turning is not coming from out here. The world's not going to do it. It doesn't mean I can't imagine lovingly for you. You're listening to this. I imagine that you turned. You actually turned. I can feel it. I can hear it in the comments already. You did that turn, and the glow and flame is the result. The glow and flame is the result. All right. What a good chapter, man. Wow. Power of Awareness, Chapter 8, Renunciation. We'll see you in the next chapter.